Welcome to Rise and Grind with Arista Consulting Group. Our goal of this video is to help you stress less about money, and our mission at Arista is to help lead people to financial security. So once again, I have Toby Anderson, our financial planner, with us, and I'm Amy Mulvane, an account executive here at Arista Consulting Group. So we've almost made it to the end of the school year. So I know Toby and I are both parents, and we're really excited, yay, that we're almost at the end. So while we're remote learning will be coming to an end, we'll still be remote working for a little while longer, but at least we won't be having to juggle both hats. So Toby, I know you're feeling pretty good about that.
I am. It's final exams for my kids, and I got 3 teenagers, and so not having to. My focus is trying to make sure they're actually doing their work. I don't have to help them with it, but especially with the 15-year-old boy, there's a little bit of hey Ben, you got to do your homework. So glad it's coming to an end and headed to summer.
I feel your pain. I have a 16-year-old son who I'm constantly getting notifications of missed assignments.
Yes.
That I'm screenshotting, and he is making an appointment with his mom to go over.
There you go.
We're almost at the end of that and going to be celebrating the official kickoff of summer next week. But one thing I want to kick off today with you is we've spent the past 2 episodes, we've talked about the importance of having a budget, of creating some extra spending in your budget for yourself as far as saving. So not necessarily spending money on yourself, but setting aside those dollars to actually save. And the recommendation is, try to put a little bit more in your retirement. Then we talked about market volatility. A lot of people are scared of what's going on in the market. They're scared of putting more money into the market with it being so volatile. So we addressed that. So what I want to spend some time on today is helping people understand, okay, I've got this extra money. I've decided to dedicate it to my retirement plan. Now what? Which account should I open? What should I invest it in? So what would your recommendation be for that, Toby?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, what I do with my clients and what I tell participants is, there's 2 things you got to understand first. One, it's your time horizon, right? How much longer do you have until it's time for that magical retirement day? And then the second piece of that goes along with it is your personal risk profile. What are you comfortable with, right? And so, I've got a questionnaire that I walk through with all of our clients, and I encourage participants to do it as well. And I'm just going to give you an example of one of the questions that's on that. It says, if your investments were to decline in value significantly over a 3-month period, how might you react? And as you answer that, it helps you understand where you're at from a risk standpoint, right? And so it gives you 4 options. I would consider the decline an opportunity to add to my investments. Everything's on sale. I'm going to buy more. Because I invest for long-term growth, I can accept temporary fluctuations. I understand that, I've got 10, 15, 20 years, so I'm not too concerned about it. Or, although I invest for long-term growth, a short-term decline would concern me. You might lose a little sleep if you see your account go down, 10, 15%. And then the 4th answer could be, I would be very concerned because I can't accept my account losing value. So how you would answer that question helps determine how much risk you should be taking in your investments, which then in turn decides what investments are most appropriate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I would gather also your age would come into a factor.
100%.
If you're within retirement, like we talked about last week, within 5 years or even 10 years, possibly your risk tolerance should be a little different than if you're in your 20s just starting out and you've got a 30-year career working in front of you.
Absolutely. There's nothing more frightening to somebody that's within 2 or 3 years of retiring and they see a big decline in their account because they were too aggressively invested.
Right. So what would your recommendation be? Like I know some people, they've started saving up a little money and they want to log on. They want to see that value every day, make sure that money's still there. Some of us, we put money into our account and we know it's coming out. Maybe it's coming out pre-tax or through our payrolls. And we don't even log on. We don't even know what the value of it is.
So I would definitely encourage people to err on the side of not logging in too much. You don't want to log in every day and see the volatility. It'll just add a piece of stress to your life that you don't need. Now if you're right at retirement and you're living on that amount, that's a different situation. But if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, with 10, 15, 20 plus years to retirement, you got to consider it long term. Pay attention to it on a quarterly basis or an annual basis, but just keep plugging that paycheck in or that additional assets into a retirement account. You get the tax advantages and you're focused long term. And like we talked about last week, long term, the market trends upward.
Exactly. There's a lot of different ways of investing. So a lot of different people have the options of picking their own investments, or some people, they're not as in tune to that, and they may be intimidated by even logging in and trying to pick different mutual funds type things. So what would be your recommendation for somebody like that says, I want to save money, but this is not my
Yep.
expertise. I'm not sure exactly where to plug that money in.
And if that's the way you feel, congratulations. You're like 90% of people in America, right? You don't pay attention to this stuff on a daily basis like you and I do. So first thing I will say is don't be afraid to ask for help, right? Make a phone call, talk to your HR and get somebody that you can chat with if you're just not sure. Inside retirement plans, most of the time there's something called a target date fund, right? And those are funds that you kind of predetermine when you think you're going to retire, right? So we're in 2020. Let's say, Amy, you and I are going to work for 20 more years, and we're targeting 2040 as our retirement date. Pick a target date fund that says 2040. So, and the nice thing about those is they automatically adjust over time to from an asset allocation standpoint to be more conservative as you get closer toward retirement. They're on a constant, like think of it landing a plane and the landing is retirement. As you get closer to that bottom, things get more and more conservative. So you're always properly allocated and you don't have to worry about it whatsoever. Now, the other person of that is if you want a little bit more control and you want to pick individual mutual funds within the plan, that's great, right? I mean, you got great options inside your plans. I would just encourage you, if you're not very savvy in that area, just seek a little bit of advice to make sure that your risk tolerance is in line with what your investments are.
Perfect. I think the other thing for people also to remember when it comes to their employer retirement plan is they can change their contribution amount at any time. This is not something that's subject to the open enrollment conditions. It's something that can be changed month to month. So if you need to up your contributions and you see one month that you're going to have an influx of extra cash, so you want to put some of it in savings, you can change it, and then the next month you can put it back to what it was. And just like on the flip side of that, if something were to happen and there's an emergency and you need to stop the contributions, you can stop it, start it back up at any time as well.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, that really helps us understand the best way to investing when you're looking at saving for retirement. So we want to remind everybody the best way to contact myself and Toby. We're going to put that information up on the screen just shortly here. And
I'll just say, don't be afraid to reach out to me. If you want me to send you the 6 questions that I go over with our clients, I'm happy to do that and spend 5-10 minutes on the phone. Because I want everybody to feel comfortable with what they're doing. I want them to understand just enough to feel like they're making the right decisions for their future. And so understanding your risk profile and reviewing your allocations, I am happy to do that with anyone. Just shoot me an email or call my cell phone. We'll connect and make sure you're on the right path.
Absolutely. That's a great reminder as well. It costs nothing to reach out to myself or to reach out to Toby.
Yep.
Our mission at Arista, again, is to help lead people to financial security. And we realize that the majority of employees do that through their work benefits. So we want to help you with your retirement plans today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Rise and Grind.